we're here to talk to you guys about just the, getting a good start. It's never out of style, guys, getting a good start. And this is really about row starters and how we get this plant started. The first thing we do really when we hit besides inspecting the planter, once we get to the field, the decisions we make about row starters and what we do. So, importance of that successful start. Why are we doing this out here? It's about quicker, more consistent emergence. Everybody goes out, we talk about listen to precision planting guys, but it's about getting these nutrients and things out there as well. So more vigorous early root and shoot growth. So we think about scavenging nutrients. How many guys have pulled tissue samples? We pull tissue samples, but yet we still can't get enough nutrients in that plant. So we got to think about how we build a very vigorous root system underneath that plant early on so it can scavenger those nutrients out there during the season, maybe when it gets hot and dry and adverse conditions that we maybe don't have. So the bigger that root kit we have, the better off we're going to be overall through that season. Wider leaf development and capturing additional sunlight. You guys will hear Isaac talk later on a little bit about, how much at R5 in corn, when corn starts to dent, that we still got 40% of that grain to fill yet. So with fungicides and things. But you think about that wider leaf development and capturing that additional sunlight, we have to grab the nutrients from the sun, that photosynthesis, that process in the plant. Pull that one down. So what other things can we do with our fungicide and in-furrow fertilizers that we have? It's about in-furrow fungicide applications and stuff, guys. So to aid in the control of seed-borne diseases caused by Rhizoctonia and Fusarium. So if you look at this here, you look down in the crown at the mesocotyl here, you can see it's diseased. That plant's probably going to make it, but it's not going to be much of a plant as far as yield and yield potential out there. So we're trying to control those. So what can we put in there? What fungicides can we add to that row starter to make this a successful start for you? Doesn't matter the product, it really matters the process and what we're trying to control out here. So if you start looking at the treated versus the untreated here with an in-furrow fungicide, we're looking at the tissue. It's really about this tissue around the crown here. If we keep that tissue healthy, we have a much better chance of not getting the other diseases that I'll show you back here in the plant, from crown rot, Fusarium, and Diplodia stalk rot. But look at this untreated. If you just pull the tissue and start looking at the tissue, I didn't see it first when I first dug these plants until I looked closer and started taking videos and pictures. But the mesocotyl on both is healthy, so I don't have lily seedling blight. It's about the tissue coming out of that crown, around the crown, is what we're really trying to protect. So, next slide. So from that, if you walk around and drive down the road 55 mile an hour, I can pick it out all day long, guys. I'm seeing plants like this already. Green plants, and then I got plants that are dead. You see that? Maybe I'm the only guy that drives with my head not looking down the road and looking like this all the time, but I don't know. So looking at it, so you see this here. See, it's already shriveling up. You see this ear here. Still green plants, healthy. So when you cut these plants open and you start looking at the tissue and the health, you see the Diplodia stalk rot here, but where did it come from first? You look down deep in the plant, you can see the crown. The crown is actually what is gone. It actually got crown rot early on, so that tissue coming out, it's about protecting that, guys. We got to figure out what we can do to protect it and continue to put, trial things in the rows. So we've been trialing things. This is kind of the systems approach that we've used for years, guys. A lot of guys, I don't care. You can use, everybody's got their favorite mix of row starter. Pop-up 725, 5, 6, 18, 18, whatever number may be, 1034. Some guys still use it. They're very happy with it. The zinc, that's a very important part. It helps accelerate germination, gets that in the plant. Zinc's very important there for determining your kernels and row set as well. The Ascend Pro, we talked about getting that plant off and actually getting enhanced root growth and development. These products actually help in that and also aid in number of rows around on that plant. Rows around, that root growth, pulling in nutrients from a broader area of that environment there that you're in the soil. And then your insecticides, guys, your Capture LFR or other things that you use for an insecticide, we have to have those in there. Most guys got 500 treatment on their corn or 1250 treatment on their corn. But what do we have to do? The insects have to feed on their cutworm. They still have to nick the plant. Wireworm. Wireworm are the hardest little devils, and we've seen a bunch of them this year again. But the insecticide, if you have a 500 treatment with a Capture LFR at the half rate, 3.4 ounces, you're probably going to have as good a control as anything that you got out there from an insecticide control. Then we're talking about fungicides, Xyway. So Xyway, a very good product out there. We trialed it. We're looking at it, but from a disease standpoint, let's flip this one. We don't have results on all of it this year. We're going to see how it turns out, but if you look at the untreated versus the treated, you can see the amount of gray leaf spots showing up out in there. You can see the northern corn leaf blight, physoderma. So a lot of disease versus the treated with the 15.2 ounces. So it's another product we're looking at. We just got to get some more results. And I think I'm basically out of time. But I'm going to give you guys, I am out of time, right? Who's my timekeeper?
No, you got a little bit more.
I got a little more?
Yeah,
Okay.
5 minutes.
Oh, I thought that.
You went fast.
Okay. So anyways, so we got a little time. So has anybody got any questions on this yet? How many guys are using row starter? A lot of different kinds of row starters. So let me go back. I thought I was out of time. I looked back and I thought the clock reset, so it meant I was out of time. Apologize for that. This one right here. So a lot of guys use row starter, and when I talk about row starter, I was talking about in those first ones where I'm putting in fungicides and other things, the zinc and that. Typically, I'm looking at putting it in furrow, directly in contact with the seed. When we're looking at some of these other guys, we got a lot of guys that are doing some 2x2 yet, which I think is very important as well. 2x2, that's depending on your nitrogen program, but we need 30 to 40 units of nitrogen minimum to kind of get that plant off and grow until it can actually get to your other nitrogens out there, whether that's anhydrous or you're broadcasting urea or some form of urea out there. So, or your side dressing 28 and things like that. So one thing that a lot of guys are doing is they're putting in 28004, which is 4% sulfur. Just remember sulfur and 28, salts, all that stuff. You got to keep it away from the seed. Keep it over 2 to 3 inches over from the seed, so we don't get any burn on anything on the roots. So, so just from that standpoint, I think that's kind of the main part of the topic out here. But if you guys got any other questions, feel free to ask anything here. We're going to continue to trial the new product. I know there's some hype on the Xyway a little bit both ways at this point. We're going to wait and see what the yield results come out, the combine. One thing to remember, you guys are dealing with live seed. You guys are putting a lot of stuff on, trying to put it on in the row, in the furrow. Just be careful because we're trying to tank mix. You know, some guys are putting 8, 10 different products in their row starter. You know, be careful. You know, we're putting fulvic acids, humic acids, we're putting PGRs, we're putting, sometimes when we put all that stuff in there, there's a counteraction, and along with maybe seed treatments or other things that are out there. So just be careful, make sure you're following a quality recommendation, or you know the products that you're working with before we just start dumping everything in there. It may mix fine in your planter, but it doesn't mean that the corn plant's going to like everything you just gave it. So that's a little bit what we're seeing, I think, this year in some places. So